welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors, and today we are going to go through my lockpick set, and this is what it looks like here. This video is a continuation to the previous video on common keys. So if you want to check that out, I encourage you to do so. It's just kind of an extension to kind of this entry kit that we're talking about today. These are all tools and things that we talk about in my book called Covert Entry, and you can find that on our website at www.blackswanoutdoors.com. So check that out if you're interested in this topic. If you're interested in kind of getting an overview of lock picking and this topic again. So what I have here is kind of a lockpick set that I've put together. It's got some tools, both lockpicking tools and some bypass tools, and so I'll kind of go through a few of these things, kind of the pros and cons of some of these stuff, and to get you an idea if you're looking to get into this, what to go for, what might be helpful. So as I said in the previous video, I'm not an expert. A lockpicker. It's not even a big hobby of mine, to be completely frank. Some people really get into lockpicking, and it's a great hobby, and I definitely encourage people to do that because it is fun. I'm more of kind of interested in it from a utility perspective. I'm more interested in it from just getting a job done, and not in the trying to kind of tackle and defeat every lock that's out there. A little background, when I had a different professional field, one of the things that we needed to do to secure we're moving people through buildings, important people through buildings, was to knowing what doors were locked, what doors were unlocked, and what was behind doors. So we'd go through and do essentially a walkthrough of a facility. A lot of times there were hotels, and we would go through with a manager or somebody with a key and inspect everything in and around those doors for the principal's safety. And in many cases, it was just a phone call away to get somebody from the hotel to open a locked door. There had been a couple occasions, and an emergency situations had arisen, and was not able to get somebody from a hotel to open a door, and had to essentially try to get through a deadbolt without any proper tools. And that's kind of the background, or the kind of my interest in this area, is because then I started seeing this need for it. Fast forward later on, having this skill set gave me the ability to, I've had to break into my own house from not having keys. I've had to break into vehicles, other friends' houses, things of that nature, in order to gain access, so in a legal capacity. So this kit here is designed essentially around my needs, which is not getting into single pick picking, mostly what's called raking. And so raking is very different from single pick picking. Single pick, it uses a tool something like this, and you go into the lock and you pick each one of the pins. And it's very accurate. It's a very skilled technique, and in a capable hands, it's very quick. But it's a skill set that really needs to be kept up, and you need to do it. And it also I feel you need to learn it with somebody. It's not something that you could really pick up with a book. Raking, on the other hand, is a little different. You're just taking a tool that looks something like this, sticking in a lock and moving it around, up and down, back and forth, jiggling it, and tripping those pins, and you can get that on. So I had a little example here of what raking looks like. So raking is not a high skill. lock picking technique. And some people, for that reason, look down upon it. But I think that for people who are entry level or people who are not like myself, interested in lock picking as far as a hobby or an advanced skill set, I think having a raking focused kit works well. So that's what I did. In fact, I picked up the EOD kit from Sparrows, and that's where the majority of my lock picks and tools also come from. And it gives me the wide variety of raking picks and other bypass tools that are very functional, particularly for a person like myself. Aside from the rakes, we have, I showed you in the previous video, a mini knife. This is a little larger knife tool. I tied on to that a small decoder, which you can use to open up dial locks, and I have a video on that you can see. And then these are for wafer locks, right here. And so you can get in, and it's the same as that jiggler tool that I showed in the previous video. The other tool here that I have is a mini Slim Jim. Now, you may be familiar with this tool. This is a small version of the larger tool that many police officers and tow truck operators would carry in their car in case someone locks themselves out of their car. Slide this tool between the window and the door. It grabs a bar right here and opens it up. Most cars aren't constructed with that construction anymore, so having the long Slim Jim isn't as beneficial as it used to be. But having a small Slim Jim is. You can get this inside of a doorway to get entry from an outward or inward swinging door. You can also use this to test or to find other deadbolts that might be on a particular door, sliding this through, kind of running this through. So there's a lot of uses for this tool. And you don't have to waste a lot of time shimming or lock picking or whatever when you can just bypass the latch. Now, a lot of latches indoors are improperly installed. Particularly in the industrial doors or commercial fields and rental places where people just try to save money by not getting a professional to install the door. And in that case, a tool like this or a tool like this, which is called the scrum tool or a traveler's pick, works really well. A very small flathead screwdriver really does the same thing too. This thing I think I picked up from Harbor Freight for maybe $2, or you can spend more money on a more expensive tool online to do the very same thing. In fact, if in many cases, you could just use this tool to get into many, especially industrial or rental properties for that reason. So this is a very functional and effective tool. The problem with this tool, though, is it's a little awkward in size compared to the rest of the tools that I have, and it also has that sharp tip. That sharp tip is really important. It saves you from sticking your knife into a lock and doing the same thing. This works a little bit better. However, it just pokes you, so you do need to be careful about how you carry this outside of your kit. I used to take an eraser actually and stick that right on here from a pencil, and that worked well. So some other tools, another bypass tool here that I have are shims. You can get this particular set from Stately Asset Protection. These are just kind of a small cut down size of shims. It gives you 3 sizes or 3 thicknesses, and they're wallet size, so you can stick this in your wallet. This small of a shim is actually not terribly functional. You kind of want a bigger shim for it to be a little bit more effective. But the problem is who's going to be carrying around a big shim? So unless you kind of know you're anticipating that. Now, one of the cool things about shims, though, is that these can be easily constructed in the field. In the book, we talk about constructing your tools in the field from lock picks and other tools. So these shims can be constructed. You don't need to purchase shims necessarily for shimming. But I have this set because I keep this set for when I need it. but what I practice on are actually my homemade shims. And so this is an example of one of them, and this is just a piece of pop bottle. Alternatively, you could use a credit card. You can use other materials. So on these shims here, I wrote the different materials that match the thickness for these three shim sizes. So the first is a pop bottle, which is this one. The medium weight is an ice cream container. It's one of these plastic ice cream containers that looks like, like this. And then the thickest version here is the same thickness as a hotel key or old credit card. So it's kind of that classic kind of trope of breaking in with a credit card. Yes, you can do that with some doors. And so having, a credit card like this works. One of the things that that I have done is cutting a notch in the credit card as well. And that works out quite well to kind of give yourself a little edge, a similar notch to this tool. So you have the ability to kind of grab the latch a little bit better. Because one of the reasons I'm, talking a lot about this from escape and evasion, or frankly getting into finding safe spaces. The Hooket tool, also from Stately Asset Protection, is a very good tool. Getting into gates, getting out of doors, kind of getting out. This is more focused on that. It's got this nice little hole here, so you can drop this down places where you can't reach. It's flat. It sits in a credit card, or sits in a wallet alongside your credit cards, and a very, very functional tool. And so I carry this on my person quite a bit, because you never know when you need to get access to, through a gate or through an outward swinging door. All right, so alongside of making picks and such, I have some cards here. This is the Sparrow's Chaos card. And as far as kind of these credit card kits go, in my opinion, I think this is a very well-rounded, well-thought-out kit. It gives you all the tools that you would need. And what I've done is I've kind of broken this card up, and I've used the tools in different places. So I have multiple kind of kits that I carry with me for different functions, different purposes. This kit here is, this bag or container here is made from Triple Out Design. It's their sear kit, and it has this great little pouch here that you can use to attach to your button on your pants and your zipper, and it holds your pouches then right into your pants. You could also, sew a button into your trousers, or if you have one of those extra buttons in case you lose one, you can attach this to there, and then you now have kind of some tools with you to get through. And so part of the Chaos card is inside here. So I have another small decoder, but I have a comb pick, which is great for padlocks. This is the most common of locks for comb pick. So I have a handcuff shim, another mini knife, and then this little wafer lock pick, and it's a combo, also kind of a thumb knife, so a little last-ditch defensive tool that they have. You already saw the jiggler lock, and then I have in this case here another set of lock picks, which we've talked about in other videos, but I've got this little tiny handcuff key, and I absolutely love this thing. Very hard. I'm always nervous about losing it, but where it fits in super well is in the bracelet of my watch. And so I can just take this and drop it into the bracelet of my watch, put my watch on, and now I have access to a handcuff key right on my hand without that would not be noticed really well. The other nice thing about this kit is it gives you some lock picks. Now, the kind of one of the standard lock picks sets, or a very common set that you'll see online and all over the place, is the Bogota set. And the Bogota set it's just Bogota is in reference to the type of wafer where this lockpick was designed, but it gives you a wafer raking lock was where it was designed. But this set gives you kind of one tool that can be used as a pick. It can also be used as a rake, as a half diamond, and then the Bogota. And then the other tool that's not being used, so let's say you're raking a lock with the rake, this become your tensioning device. So you have essentially 3 lock picks in one kit, and these can be easily hidden. And so what I do is, if they're not being carried within one of these other kits and I want to layer my tools on me, then what I do is I just put this in between a pen spring, the spring from a clicker pen, and a safety pin, and I just slide it to get down through the spring. Oops. Just like that, and then I can safety pin the lock set right to my pant leg, shirt, under my lapel. I personally like to keep it under the flap in front of or in back of the zipper, because it makes it very accessible. But yeah, so you can kind of put it in many different locations all around. The other thing that's nice about that kit then is, and the reason why I brought that up, is that you get a flat set of lock picks. And so you get this Bogota pick, you get a single pick, and then you get a tension wrench. And they're not great, they're not even great quality, but they lie flat. And so perfect for behind my phone. And this other tool is just the SIM card remover tool. And that's something we talk about in other aspects of escape and evasion, which you'll see later on in a future video. So I have my lockpick set with my phone all the time. I've gone through security. I've gone through airport security without any detection or raising any, I guess, red flags. Now, sometimes when you're working kind of in a low light environment and it's hard to see, so I often have a flashlight with me. If I can't do it with something like this, I'll have a headlamp that has red light feature. That's super handy. But you can also use one of these, and it's essentially just a really tiny glow stick, the large, like the chem lights that you see for emergencies. Except for it's used for fishing. So it's super small, fits into kits. This is something that I had gotten from, the idea I had gotten from Ed's Manifesto. You can give him a follow. He's got a lot of kind of tips and tricks and this kind of stuff. Yeah, so this gives you just enough light, I feel, and it's small enough that you can hide it. So some of those larger glow sticks, those chem lights, are a little bit harder to hide. So if you needed to not have that lighting, that luminescence going off, this is something that a little bit more discreet, and you can. And I have tried in a dark environment to open up a lock and have been successful in the amount of light that you get from these little guys. So that is. So then the other card that I have are just outlines of my bump lock keys and my lock picks. And so in the book, we talk a little bit about, procuring tools from your environment. And so that's a really important thing. You can do that. And so this gives me some kind of rough, a rough outlines of some common keys that, or common tools that you could use to open up if you didn't have that. So you can always get blanks from the stores, like a hardware store, or key blanks, and fashion your own keys, which is a whole nother topic. But it's something you can definitely do if you have access to someone else's keys. One of the things that I carry that's similar to that skill set is just a piece of tin or aluminum foil from a can. And what I can do with this is, if you had access to the key of the place that you wanted to get into, then you take the key, you put it down onto this piece of aluminum foil, and you just trace the outline of that key, and then with your Leatherman tool, you just cut out that shape. Then you can stick that into the key lock, and then with one of your tensioning devices or a screwdriver, you then use that to turn the tumbler, and you can get right in. So if you needed that spare key, and this is to me, this is a great way to, if you lose, you want to leave a key outside your house hidden, but you're always afraid of somebody breaking in. Well, you can just leave the outline of that key. Generally get one, maybe two uses out of it, because it's pretty thin, so it's great for those emergencies. So if you kept a small screwdriver and that key in two different locations, most people would not be able to get into your house with a piece of aluminum foil. So, all right. A couple other tools and things that I have and I carry with me that are helpful is a rubber band and a thumbtack. So if you need to get past a chain lock on a door, this is a great technique. I have a video on how to do that, which I hopefully will include in this video. You can do something very similar to with dental floss. This is just Kevlar cordage, which you can use dental floss just the same. This is a little stronger, lasts a little longer. And so those are helpful for those bar locks that you see on doors that are similar to the chain locks, but it's a bar. They're very common on a hotel door. What you don't see in my kit is a coat hanger. I use a coat hanger and a little piece of paracord here to make an under the door door tool. So you just slide this coat hanger under the door, and it captures a lever locks and opens them up, similar to what you see in industrial places and hotels. And so I just carry a small hank of paracord for that reason. And there'll be a video on me doing that also here. Sometimes doors have alarms and windows have alarms. The very, very cheap ones are much more widespread oftentimes than the more expensive stuff. And so the cheap ones, a lot of them, most alarms work on principles of a magnet. So this little tool here, this is a trick I got from Deviant Olem as well, it tells you the polarity of that magnet. And so then you take another magnet, which you've marked positive and negative on, and you use that, slide that into in between that the two components of that alarm, and that keeps it from going off. You can also take these magnets and slide it into a magnetically locking door, and then you still to be able to get in. So you could slide this as when the door is unlocked, and come back later when it's assumed to be unlocked. A small paper clip is actually enough in many cases to upset the whole thing. This is a little bit easier to spot. It's a little bigger, so there's a risk in that. But Magnets have a lot of really great functionality, which I'll talk about in a second. Another common tool or useful tool that I have is my cell phone and this little device. I can scan on my cell phone for any Wi-Fi cameras and things of that nature. And it'll tell me if there is those, and if there is, then I can use this tool, which is called the Deauthor. This is just a development board that you can pick up. The Node MCU board you can get online for 20 bucks. I plug this into my phone. It emits a Wi-Fi signal, disrupts or deauthors the Wi-Fi, removing the capability of any device using Wi-Fi. So that's cameras, that's audio devices, that's other computers, and so on and so forth. So you can kind of get past those cameras and those things with a tool like this. There's some limitations with this tool, but and they're highly illegal if you use it, say, in like an airport. But there are some uses for it, and they're very small and lightweight. You can do other things with them than just the Deauthor. You can reprogram to do a lot of other neat things. Another tool that I find useful is the Kinepix. The Kinepix pliers or bolt cutters. These are small bolt cutters. Sometimes you just can't pick a lock, or you don't have the time to pick a lock, and you need a pair of bolt cutters. Now, you'll see a lot of people carrying around these big honking things, and quite frankly, I've never come across the need for a bigger set. You hopefully are able to lock pick that larger set. But for the smaller stuff and for wire cutting, these things are super handy. They can cut many different gauges. I apologize, I don't have the stats on how thick this goes off the top of my head, but for many of the smaller padlocks, certainly. And then I live in a rural area, so barbed wire fence. So I use this on a day-to-day basis. All the time, just for work. They are a little on the pricey side, but you can cut other types of cables, CCTV feeds. You could, if you've got somebody detained with zip ties, you can use these to do that, and many other applications. So they are very useful. They are a little heavy, but they're compact. They really are, for the bite that they have, they kind of they do well for the size. And then another tool here that I have, I guess it's not really a tool, but it's a caution tape. And so I can put this caution tape up on a hallway, for example, to give me some space and time to do some work. Sometimes if you just need a private place, you can put the caution tape up, and people will actually just kind of adhere to it. They'll think it's official. So I have some caution tape and a little bit of tape to put that on a doorway, on a hallway, on a window, whatever it is. So if you're looking to find a safe space or a place where you don't want to be disturbed, you need to get a quick nap, you can find those spaces, put this little sign on the front, caution, and generally people just kind of stay away. So that's kind of a nice little kind of hack. All right, finally is the case that I have my tools on. And I was looking for the right or the best type of lockpicking apparatus to carry all my tools, and I was looking at kind of traditional tool rolls, and I couldn't find that. And in fact, so I was kind of loosely inspired by the Triple-Aught Design Sear Kit. The problem with this kit is it's not big enough to put your pick locks in, your lock picks in, and other tools. It's quite small. So I made something that was a little bit bigger. It was just out of duck canvas. One of the things that you see in a lot of these containers, these apparatuses to carry these tools, and particularly when people are focused on the kind of tactical market, is just to put everything's made out of Cordura and Velcro. It's like nothing that's not tactical can't have Velcro or Cordura. And Cordura is nice, it's tough, but you don't necessarily need a fabric that strong and that heavy. You know, in my opinion, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. And you certainly don't need Velcro that makes a loud noise. So this gives me the ability to lay out my tools. So as I'm practicing on my practice boards, which I'll show you here pictures of, then you can actually just lay everything out. You can see it. You can grab your tools as needed. Super handy. The other thing that's nice about it is I included magnets on here. That magnets is what keeps this closed. So if I'm working in an area and there's a metal, you know, a refrigerator or metal filing cabinet or something, a desk, I can actually just hang this from that apparatus. And then lastly is one of the best parts of this is that this can be actually used around my wrist. And so I can take all of my tools with me and not have a big bulge in my pocket, but have it along my wrists where it then could be hidden away and people wouldn't be the wiser if I wanted to kind of keep a more low profile. So essentially what I'll do is I just wrap this right around here. The magnets hold this in place. The strap here, or the elastic, holds all the tools in place. And then I can just bring my sleeve down and hide all of these tools, come up to the place that I want to open the door, and I've got all the tools right here that I need. So it works out really, really well. Obviously, if I take my time, I can put it on a little bit better. So yeah.